Okay, now we're continuing on now with slide 25 on muscle metabolism. It falls into character, two types, and also when you use them and how long you can use them. Aerobic and anaerobic. So aerobic is using oxygen. Anaerobic is without using oxygen. You can also call that fermentation. Um, and then the ATP sources. So where do you get your ATP from? Well, immediate, if you're just using your muscles and not using them very strenuously, you just use aerobic and you bring oxygen into the muscles with hemoglobin. If the oxygen gets really low, then myoglobin comes into play, and you get the oxygen from myoglobin. But that happens really fast. Once that happens, then the next immediate sources, and these are all anaerobic, is the phosphagen system. This is a creatine phosphate, which I talked about before, which is like a really quick, almost storage form of ATP, and the myokinase system, which can also make ATP really quickly. Now, these don't make a lot of ATP, the thing is they make them real quick. And then, but you blow through those in just a few seconds. Then, if you still are using your muscles strenuously enough and you haven't got time for oxygen to get to the muscles, then you turn to cellular respiration, anaerobic cellular respiration, which makes lactic acid. And then if you use your muscles slow enough where you have time to get oxygen to the muscles, then you use aerobic cellular respiration. This slide number 26 shows you the really quick ways to get ATP with just ATPase, which converts ADP into PI. There's myokinase, which takes two ADPs, makes one ATP and one AMP, which is adenosine monophosphate. And then creatine kinase can take an ADP and creatine kinase and make ATP and creatine. So these are anaerobic, and they're really fast. Here's slide 27, looking at cellular respiration, starting with glucose to pyruvate, and if there's not enough oxygen in the muscle, then we start making lactic acid, and that starts to build up and leads to muscle fatigue. This is after we've gone through the phosphagen and the myokinase. The good thing about fermentation is that it's really fast, as I mentioned, but you don't make very much ATP, just two, and you can only do this for a limited period of time before you have to slow down and go to oxygen. This is actually a double arrow here. It should be a double arrow. Lactic acid builds up and eventually has to be converted to pyruvate and go through aerobic. You have to, because we are what called obligate aerobic organisms. You can do exercise without oxygen for a while, but you build up an oxygen debt, and you're huffing and puffing, and you gotta eventually go in and use oxygen and replenish stuff. Okay, so in here in the mitochondrion is where aerobic respiration takes place. Pyruvate to acetyl CoA into what's called the citric acid cycle in the middle of the mitochondrion. You make some ATP over here, but then these energy carrier molecules, NADH and FADH2, go to the electron transport chain in the inner mitochondrial membrane, and that's where you make the majority of your ATP. Look at this, 32 versus 2 here, 2 here. You make 32. So that's, and in the meantime, you make water as a byproduct. And the oxygen is used to take off the useless electrons from the electron transport chain. Slide 28, energy supply and intensity of exercise. Short-term high-intensity exercise requires anaerobic mechanisms. You can make ATP anaerobically from carbohydrates, but not from anything else. And the thing is, you're using your muscles so rapidly you haven't got time to get oxygen to it. You have to use anaerobic. Longer term, lower intensity exercises uses aerobic mechanisms. And cardiovascular exercise versus resistance exercise makes big muscles, develops anaerobic capability. Cardiovascular exercise improves oxygen delivery system. You don't make great big muscles, but you improve the oxygen delivery system. You make blood vessels so you can get more oxygen more rapidly to muscles, and you can maintain a higher level of intensive exercise and still stay aerobically and reduce the amount of fatigue. So slide 29 here is showing you on a, 1500 meter or 400-meter um, uh, um, track how fast you blow through these particular means of making ATP. Phosphagen is the most immediate, and you blow through that in just a few seconds. Anaerobic, you can go maybe 30 seconds to a minute, maybe a little bit more. But if you're going farther than that, you have to switch to, if you're going all the way around a 1500-meter track, you need to switch to aerobic metabolism. So even if you do really anaerobic exercise, you still build up an oxygen debt. Remember, you do really have to eventually go oxygen. And so you're puffing heavy, even doing resistance exercise, because you got to replace the body oxygen reserve, the myoglobin, you got to replace the phosphagen system, you got to oxidize all the lactic acid, and you have an elevated metabolic rate for quite a while after you've done the exercise in order to do these things.